In this video we're going to examine the impact crater, the KBS impact crater, and just look for anomalies from the NASA satellite views. One, we've got this long structure. Now that crater system there is about 100 kilometers wide or more, so that's a very long tubular structure on the surface there. We can't zoom in on that one, but we can zoom in on this thing here, which is very close to the impact site, and what we have that looks like a cylinder which actually goes vertical there and produces a shadow. So let's go closer and we'll hear the commentary as well.
The Centaur is expected to impact on the left part of the...
Now this looks an unusual structure there for the moon. And keep an eye on that object there, which is an enlarged vertical tubular structure. Keep an eye on that thing there. It looks like just a long tube going all across the moon's surface, which looks very unnatural. And according to my previous videos on moon structures, they're all tubes or cylinders or similar type of structures that don't look human. That's the crew there, just before the impact, so I just speed it up a fraction, I think. Here we go. We're just back on the NASA image there.
Hunt, the flight director, announced earlier
We'll then,
prior to impact.
Flight payload confirm sequence 2 start.
We'll then zoom in.
Seconds after the impact.
There we go.
We'll then switch to curtain mode, which will last for 3 minutes.
Keep an eye on that structure there. That doesn't seem natural at all. And you'll see soon here what looks like 2 tunnel entrances, which are...
To OPR 9, over.
Copy NIR1 to OPR 9 with command flight set up. That November or Mike.
That lady sounded like she was 19 years old.
November.
We are
And also,
now communicating to the flight team.
that type of young voice was also heard from NORAD during the September 11 attacks. They were female, they sounded a background Black African American, but too young to be in those sort of very high positions. They sounded extremely young. Now as we go forward, I just want you to keep an eye, that's the infrared mode. There'll be a huge flash that happens during the impact, and the flash occupies the whole screen, and yet that area is at least hundreds of kilometers, so it seems to resemble more a nuclear impact rather than just a few
That was an announcement by the flight director.
a missile full of TNT. Let's go forward. Okay, here we go. Here's where things... Let's go back a bit and try to analyze that last structure there. Okay, I'll just have to wait a second.
All stations flight. Mark Centaur impact.
That was an announcement by the flight director that the Centaur impact should have...
Okay, let's go forward.
On the leftmost part
Here's what's starting to show up. We'll see these 2 what look like tunnels that are actually not craters but going horizontal. And this strange structure here with things sticking up. Again, they're not meant to be human looking like if they're alien construction. And we've got that tubular, it goes horizontal and it sticks up 45 degrees and produces a shadow nearby. That does not look like your typical lunar surface. So let's go.
Infrared changes.
The left side of the shadow.
Let's go
With 1
now.
hertz, over.
Copy science command flight MIR1 to 1 hertz.
Here we go.
Sending MIR1.
And we'll see that flash soon. So that just sticks up there. You've got those 2 peculiar things that look like tunnels. And then we'll jump into see one other image from a Chinese satellite that's purportedly of a square looking strange like city, a chang'e probe Chinese satellite, to see how that could resemble what we see here. So we'll just go a bit forward. And we'll,
Fit within the 1
here we go.
megahertz,
Ready with MIR2 at point 2.
That's sticking up there. We've got those 2 things that look like
signal limit.
tunnels there, and these things don't look like craters, they look like fish mouths, and they're common around this area too as well. Craters don't have this peculiar image.
0.1 hertz.
So it looks like a beehive type of formation, which is not human, it's more like alien, obviously. Can you just look at those peculiar two entrances there? That thing that sticks up, that's probably huge. That's hundreds of meters, if it isn't a kilometre at least, sticking up there. And now we're going to see this great huge flash. Now I have analysed in my previous videos structures that are seen on the surface very close to here around this area, and that's using Google Moon. You've got huge towers about 400 metres tall.
To transition to DV mode.
Now have a good look at that there.
Transition to DV mode, which
That
is
does
DV
not
mode,
seem
actually
like
is
your
a
typical
control mode for the spacecraft.
moon
It allows
crater.
it to slew much more quickly, to continue pointing at
So it does have all the indications of being an alien type of creation, an alien base. Look at that thing sticking up as well. That's actually sticking up vertically from there.
This is the last minute,
That's sticking up vertically as well. That looks more like a structure rather than natural formation. And we'll also zoom in. Someone took a picture of what one of the operators there had on a desk, which was a picture of this, which would square a building that was aimed for. So someone slightly enlarged that image, and we'll also put that here on the documentary to see what NASA was actually looking at here during the impact. Okay, what we're going to see, that's the flash. That's a huge flash. And the picture was right there on the table.
Mark, transition to DV mode.
Flight
You're looking for a critical
NIR2 OPR change request. NIR2 to OPR 10. Over.
Then copy NIR2
Okay,
to OPR.
let's now stop this.
Confirm. November.
And that's the end of this, obviously. Let's go now stall for a second.
Orbiter project.
This is the
at
image now
NASA
that we're seeing
on
on
Langley Field.
chang'e 2.
Dr. Colliers was in charge of that project. They had problems with a piece of electronic equipment that was
And here we go.
bottlenecking
This
their
is the actual
production of
square
photographs.
building by the chang'e 2 satellite.
I went to the facility, and when I walked into the
It's
facility,
huge.
there were scientists from all over the world. I was stunned actually to see people
What we're hearing is a
at a NASA
commentary from
project,
someone from NASA who had
from all
to
over the world that didn't
visualize
make any
these
sense
things
to me initially.
in the early 60s.
I was taken into the laboratory where the equipment was malfunctioning. I couldn't repair it in the dark. I asked to have it removed. A airman second class was in the dark room at that time. I was also in airman second class. I was interested in how the whole process functioned, how the data got from the lunar orbiter.
We're seeing close-up views now of this complex. This is the chang'e 2 Chinese probe. So again, it resembles what we saw as Australian structures in the Cabeus impact crater. So is NASA trying to bomb any remnants of any ancient cities they found with secret technologies before anyone else can land there, like the Chinese or the Russians? Or is this a base that's been created by a new alien species and they don't want them to actually create it? So that's it there. There's a picture going around on the internet. So basically they analyse that picture there on the table of NASA officials just before the blast, and you see these images there and computer screen and everything. So just to enlarge it, and specifically that image right under his elbow, and let's see what happens. So that's actually been done by someone else from one other website, but it just is used in this article just to show what could be happening in real life. This was actually zoomed in. This is a picture that's been zoomed in under his elbow, so we assume it's there. We assume it hasn't been just placed there pretending to be zoomed in, because we do see that peculiar crater right there. But I think if that's the size of the crater that we saw, that peculiar one that looks like a fish mouth, we didn't see that big square there, so I think that's just a marker. So this is a fake article actually. Let's then jump out of it. I've just enlarged the picture myself. That's actually there on his table. We see the, let's see what else we can see. We see the fish mouth type of craters, which look very unnatural. Obviously, craters are normally that round shape. That could be the Cabeus crater there. That's the big large one we see. That's heading north that way. We see that down the bottom. We saw that tower sticking up. That could be that there. We see some instructions written there as well. Let's just try to zoom in. Not that clear, but that's not what we saw. So basically, that's just a marker by the looks of it, and we'll probably just have to end this theory as well. Now, I've previously zoomed into this area before just to analyse it, and there's a huge amount of impacts happening just here, except it's very unusual. It's very bright white right at the pole. So we've had previous impacts. We had the impact probe 2008, and they don't talk about that one much. I'll have to research it. We've had one lunar prospector there. We've had one other, that's the Indian one, Southern Shackleton, Kaguya. So obviously trying to do a lot of things down here, but what's more interesting is we've previously analysed this area, and what we find is we'll see these very large rod structures here that indicate this area is inhabited not by human construction, but something that looks a bit more alien. So we'll just jump into this one here. This is probably the best example, and I'm just zooming in now. Yeah, here we go. We've got all these interesting towers again happening. There's one there with excavations around it, and then it seems to be, we've previously measured that around 400 meters, so it's quite large. Actually, I'll do it again. Yeah, that's just sticking out. That's 380. There you go, 370 meters. So in this area here, we've got quite a bit of these things sticking out, and peculiarly, we've got a whole, looks like a whole area full of them here, right there, and that's been censored. So obviously, NASA does not want us actually seeing what has produced these ones here. And these are fairly large, as I said again. We've used the ruler apparatus on this, and when we measure them, they're close to half a kilometre. That's 630 meters. So these are very large tubular constructions. So again, the more we saw the crater itself, the impact, and all these things that I've labelled in the area that show we've got, structures here and excavations happening, and those peculiar finger-like projections out of craters, it just seems to show there's a lot more happening there. And that's been shown as well by that Chinese impact probe as well. I don't think it was a fake. I think obviously we've seen this ourselves on Google Moon, these large finger-like projections happening, and we've analysed the actual tape itself of the impact, and that showed again that peculiar tower at 45 degrees looked fairly large. Also the rounded excavations next to this area. So that's all for this video.